Craven Hammerfell. UC Vanguard Identification Number CH113 Charlie. Born in the slums of the well-New Atlantis, planet Jemison. I wrote this between missions because people keep telling me I need to relax. They say it like it is a simple thing, like relaxing is a switch you flip somewhere behind the ribs, like a man can just sit down under a Joshua tree on Aquila, take his helmet off, set his rifle within reach, and forget all the reasons he learned to sleep with one eye half open. So here I am, helmet on a rock, data pad in my hands, Archer asleep beside me with his armored hide rising and falling like a slow tide. My ship, the longsword, sits quiet behind us, engines cooling, smoke drifting thin from the vents. The portable lamp swings from the branch above him, painting his plated skull in warm orange light. He looks peaceful. That still surprises me. That sounds cleaner than it was. The well was all metal ribs, leaking pipes, bad air, and people pretending they were not desperate. The city above had sunlight, fountains, clean uniforms, and glass towers that caught the blue of Jemison's sky. Down below, we had recycled breath, hungry eyes, and shadows deep enough to hide in. I learned early that nobody gave you anything in the well unless they wanted something worse in return. So I stole. Food first, then med packs, then cred sticks when I got quick enough. I was small, fast, and forgettable, which were 3 useful things to be when your stomach hurt more than your conscience. People called me gutter rat, tunnel blood, little thief. I answered to all of it if it kept me alive. I was not evil. I know criminals say that. I know everyone has a reason. But I was a child, and hunger is a quiet teacher. It does not lecture. It does not moralize. It just sits inside you and sharpens your fingers. By 12, I could lift a cred chip from a drunk merchant without brushing his coat. By 15, I knew which security doors had bad sensors and which vendors pretended not to see you if you only took what they were going to throw away. By 17, I thought I was good. That was my first real mistake. My second was picking the wrong pocket. I remember the hand more than the face. Big hand, gloved, too still. I slipped 2 fingers under the fold of a coat, felt the hard line of a card case, and started to lift. The wrist caught me before I breathed, not grabbed, caught, like the man had known I was there the whole time. I looked up and saw gray eyes beneath the brim of an old service cap, not security, not some rich tourist. Worse, retired military from the look of him. The kind of man who could stand still in a crowd and make the crowd move around him. He did not yell. That would have been better. He just said, "Son, you are very bad at choosing targets." I tried to run. He twisted my wrist, not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to explain the concept. Then UC security came. Then came a room with bright lights. Then questions. Then records. Then old charges I had outrun finally catching up. They could have sent me to a correctional block. Instead, someone decided what I needed was a change of environment. That phrase has ruined more lives than gunfire. They shipped me to Aquila City. I had never seen open land like that before. The sky felt wrong, too big, too empty. In New Atlantis, even above the well, the city wrapped around you. Aquila did not wrap around anything. It stood there with its walls and dust and old pride, daring the planet to kill it. And Aquila wanted to. The air was dry. The sun hit hard. The ground looked like it had been built out of old bone. Everything had teeth, thorns, venom, or a reason to hate you. I stepped off the transport with 1 bag, 1 record, and 1 attitude bad enough to poison water. The couple who took me in were named Mara and Dane Harrow. Mara had silver hair braided down her back and eyes that missed nothing. Dane was built like a cargo crate with scars across both arms and a voice that sounded like gravel under boots. Both were retired military. Both believed discipline could save a person. I believed discipline was just another word adults used before taking something from you. Their farm sat outside Aquila City, far enough that the walls were a memory, and close enough that you could still see patrol lights on a clear night. They had dust corn, scrub goats, water collectors, a broken-down rover, and enough chores to make prison look lazy. Mara gave me a room. Dine gave me rules. Wake before sunrise, work before breakfast. No stealing, no lying, no leaving the boundary markers, no touching the weapons without permission, no smart mouth at the table, no running. I broke all of them except the weapon rule. Not because I respected it, because Dane locked the gun cabinet. I ran away 4 times in the first 2 months. The first time I made it almost half a kilometer before I realized every rock looked like every other rock, and Aquila's night sounds were not city sounds. City sounds meant pipes, fans, people, machines. Aquila night sounds were clicks in the brush, claws on stone, wings overhead, and things breathing where I could not see them. Dane found me before dawn, sitting on a boulder with a rusted pipe in my hand, trying to pretend I was not terrified. He did not laugh. He did not lecture. He just tossed me a canteen and said, "Walk home." The second time, Mara found me. That was worse. She said nothing the whole way back. Silence from Mara weighed more than Dane's shouting ever could. The third time, I came back on my own after hearing something scream in the dark. The fourth time, Dane waited until breakfast, poured caf into his cup and said, "You keep running because you think leaving is freedom. Out here, boy. Leaving without knowing how to live is just a slower way to die." I told him I would rather die free. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "That can be arranged by noon if you insist." I hated him for that. I hated him because he was right. The day Archer came into my life started with garbage. Most important things do. I was supposed to be clearing scrap from behind the storage shed and hauling spoiled feed to the burn pit. It was hot enough that the horizon wavered. My shirt stuck to my back. My hands were blistered, and I had spent the entire morning building speeches in my head about how I did not belong there. Then I heard the bin move. Not rattle, move. The big refuse bin near the goat pen shifted half an inch, then stopped. I froze. Another scrape came from inside it. I picked up a shovel because on Aquila even the garbage might bite. Before I got 2 steps closer, Dane came out of the shed holding a shotgun. "Back up," he said. For once, I listened. The bin jerked again. Something inside hissed, low and wet. Dane raised the shotgun, thumbed the safety off, and kicked the side of the bin. The lid flew open. A small Ashta exploded out of it in a blur of claws, teeth, and panic. I had seen Ashta from far away. Everyone on Aquila knew about them. Big predators, armored heads, bad tempers, worse appetites. This one was young, though, not harmless, never harmless, but small enough that its plates had not fully hardened, ribs showing under the hide, one ear torn, one leg favoring the other. It landed in the dust with a mouth full of spoiled scraps and murder in its eyes. Dane aimed. I moved before I thought. That has been a theme in my life. I stepped between the shotgun and the Ashta. Dane's voice cracked like a whip. "Craven, move." The Ashta hissed behind me. I could feel it there, all muscle and fear. "Don't shoot it," I said. "That thing will take your hand off. It's hungry. It's an Ashta." "So?" Dane's jaw tightened. "So move." I did not. I do not know what I looked like in that moment. Skinny kid from the well, dust on my face, shovel in one hand, standing between a retired soldier and a predator that would probably bite me for the kindness. Stupid, maybe. Reckless, definitely. But I looked at that creature and saw something I understood. Not softness, not innocence. Survival. It had not come to the farm because it was evil. It had not crawled into the garbage because it wanted trouble. It was starving. It was hurt. It was doing what it had to do to make it through one more day. I knew that life. I had been that life. "Please," I said. I hated how small my voice sounded. Dane kept the shotgun raised. "You have no idea what you are asking." "Yes, I do." "No, you don't. That thing grows up. It kills livestock. Maybe a neighbor, maybe Mara, maybe you. It won't. You cannot promise that." I looked back at the Ashta. It snapped its jaws at me, scraps falling from its mouth. "No," I said, "but I can try." Mara had come out by then. She stood on the porch, arms folded, watching all of it. Dean's eyes flicked to her. I thought she would tell him to shoot it. Instead, she said, "Make him responsible." Dane stared at her like she had just suggested we invite a terror morph to supper. Mara continued, calm as weathered stone. He wants it spared. Then it is his burden. Dane lowered the shotgun a few inches. That is not a pet. No, Mara said. It is a consequence. I did not understand then how much that sentence would shape me. Dane looked at me again. Fine, he said. Here is the deal. You feed it. You clean up after it. You train it. You follow the rules. Every rule. No running, no stealing, no lying. That creature attacks anyone, livestock included, and there is a shotgun waiting. You understand me? I nodded too fast. Say it. I understand. Dane pointed the barrel toward the Ashta, not quite aiming now, but not forgetting either. And if it goes wild, you do not stand in front of me again. I said, yes, sir. That was the first time I ever called him sir and meant it. The Ashta bit me 6 minutes later, right through the glove. Mara laughed so hard she had to sit down. Training Archer was less like training and more like negotiating with a knife storm. He did not trust me. Why would he? I was larger than him, louder than him, and part of the species that had nearly ended his life behind a garbage bin. I fed him from a distance at first, scraps, then protein mash, then proper cuts, when Dane decided starving predators were harder to manage than fed ones. For weeks, Archer took the food only after I backed away. If I came too close, he hissed. If I moved too fast, he lunged. If I turned my back, he tested whether I was edible. I collected scrapes, bites, bruises, and cuts like other kids collected cards. My forearms were bandaged more often than bare. Mara treated each wound with antiseptic and absolutely no sympathy. Pain is information, she would say. I'm full of information, I told her once. She smiled. Then you are finally learning. Dane watched from a distance at first, always with the shotgun near. He never threatened me with it. Never had to. Its presence was enough. But the strange thing was, because Archer's life depended on my behavior, I began behaving, not all at once. I was still angry, still mouthy, still looking for exits. But I stopped running because if I ran, Archer would be put down. I stopped stealing because if I stole, Dane would say I was not responsible enough to keep him. I did my chores because Archer needed food, shelter, a pen reinforced twice over, and someone to clean the mess he made of everything. Responsibility did what punishment never could. It gave my choices weight. The first time Archer let me sit near him while he ate, I barely breathed. The first time he slept while I was inside the pen, I stayed there until my legs went numb. The first time he came when I whistled, I pretended dust had gotten in my eyes. He was ugly, in the way only Aquila creatures can be ugly. All angles and plates, too many teeth, a skull like a weapon. His hide darkened as he grew, rough and ridged, with those heavy natural armor scales along his back and head. He moved like trouble, even when he was calm. I named him Archer because the first time he chose not to bite me, he was sitting under the old target frame behind the barn, tail curled around one of the posts, watching me with those narrow eyes like he had already taken aim at the world. Dane said it was a stupid name. Mara said it was better than garbage bin. Archer answered to neither for almost a month. Then one evening, I whistled twice and clicked my tongue, and he lifted his head. That was enough. People think trust is a soft thing. It is not. Trust is built out of repetition, out of showing up with food every morning, out of not flinching every time teeth flash, out of holding still when instinct says run, out of setting boundaries and keeping them, out of learning that love does not mean letting something destroy you. Archer taught me that. So did Dane. After a while, Dane started taking me out past the boundary markers, not far at first. Just enough to show me tracks in the dust, scat near rocks, claw marks on bark. He taught me which sounds meant wind and which meant movement, which plants stored water, which shadows to avoid, where Ashta liked to den, where smaller predators hid when larger ones were close. Then came rifles. The first time he unlocked the gun cabinet in front of me, I thought it was a test. It was. He set a simple rifle on the table between us and said, "A weapon is not power, it is responsibility with a trigger." I rolled my eyes. He smacked the back of my head. "Try again," he said. I did not roll my eyes the second time. He taught me stance, breath, sight picture, trigger squeeze. He taught me how to clean a rifle before he let me fire one. He taught me that missing a target in practice meant doing it again, but missing a predator in the field might mean someone died. Simple weapons first, he said, tools before toys. I thought he was teaching me to fend off predators. That was true. It was not the whole truth. He was training me, not for the military exactly, not then, but for life beyond impulse, for fear without panic, for violence without cruelty, for patience, for discipline, for the understanding that surviving is not the same as living, and living takes more than quick hands. Years passed in the way years do when you are too busy to count them. I got taller, broader, harder in some places, softer in others, though I would not have admitted it. The farm became less like a sentence and more like a place I knew by sound. Mara's steps on the porch, Dane's cough in the morning, the wind against the collectors, Archer's claws tapping stone when he followed me, and Archer followed me everywhere. At first Dane hated it, then he tolerated it. Then one day he tossed Archer a strip of dried meat without looking and pretended not to notice me smiling. By then, Archer and I had our own language. A whistle meant come, 2 clicks meant stay, a hand low meant quiet, a touch behind his left plate meant down. But after a while, even those became too loud. We knew each other in smaller ways. An eye twitch, a shift in breath, the angle of his head, the flick of his tail. I could tell when he smelled water, when he sensed movement, when he was annoyed, when he was about to ignore me and do something stupid. He could tell the same about me. No words needed. The first time I realized we were no longer boy and beast, but partners, we were mending fence line north of the dry wash. I had my back turned when Archer made a sound so low I felt it more than heard it. I froze, not because I knew what was there, because he did. My hand went down, palm flat. He stopped moving. I turned slowly and saw nothing but brush and rock. Then the brush breathed. A predator, lean and dust-colored, crouched low between the scrub. Not an Ashta. Smaller. Fast enough to open my throat before I got the rifle up if Archer had not warned me. I did not speak. I did not shout. I shifted my eyes right. Archer moved left. The predator tracked him for half a second. That half second saved me. I raised the rifle, fired once, and the thing dropped before it crossed the wash. Afterward, Archer trotted over, sniffed it, then looked back at me like I had performed adequately. Dane heard the shot and came running. When he saw the animal, then Archer, then me, he said nothing for a while. Finally, he nodded once, just once. From Dane Harrow, that was a parade. That night, he poured me a finger of something brown and terrible into a tin cup. Mara said I was too young. Diane said, he is old enough to be scared and not stupid. That earns a sip. It tasted like engine cleaner and regret. I drank it anyway. I think that was the night I stopped waiting for them to send me away. Funny thing about family, it does not always arrive with blood. Sometimes it arrives as 2 old soldiers who do not know how to say they care without assigning chores. Sometimes it arrives as a half-starved Ashta in a garbage bin. Sometimes it arrives as a place you tried to escape until one day you realize you are defending it. And I did defend it. Before the vanguard, before the uniform, before the ship, before anyone trusted me with anything larger than a fence post and a bad attitude. I defended that farm. But that part of the story starts with alarms. It was late season when the dust storms came mean and fast, and the sky had that yellow bruise color that made every animal restless. Mara was inside checking seals on the lower windows. Diane and I were in the equipment shed arguing over a busted pump that had chosen the worst possible day to die. Archer was outside. He had been pacing for nearly an hour. That should have been my first warning. Not pacing like he needed to run. Pacing like he was listening to something beyond the wind. I stepped out of the shed and found him standing at the edge of the yard, head low, plates lifted along his spine. His tail was still. Archer's tail was never still. I followed his gaze toward the south ridge. At first, I saw only dust. Then lights. 3 of them. Low, moving wrong. Not patrol. Not settlers. Not Freestar. Dane came up beside me, wiping grease from his hands. He saw my face before he saw the ridge. "What is it?" I pointed. The lights dipped behind the rise, then reappeared closer. Dane's expression changed. Not fear, not surprise, recognition. He went very quiet. "Mara!" he called toward the house, voice calm in a way that made my stomach tighten. "Lockdown!" The wind shifted. Across the dust, faint but clear, came the sound of engines. Rough engines, hungry engines. Dane looked at me. For once, he did not see the thief from the well. He did not see the kid who ran, lied, stole, and mouthed off because anger was easier than shame. He saw the young man he had been training. Then he said one word. "Spacers." Archer growled, and the farm lights went out.